getting involved and knowing what's going on in town. So,
From a procedural standpoint, Mr. Dollar, correct me if I'm wrong, residents are notified for the purpose of being able to speak for or against information. So yes, it would be normal procedure to solicit input from the
Mr. Chairperson, we should limit the time to comment on this to get done.
yeah, if we could tonight, please, because we probably do, so that everybody here wants to speak. If you're here tonight to speak for this, please come to the podium, state your name, whether you're a town resident, and try to wrap it up in about 3 minutes, please. Anybody like to come up first? Who wants to be first? Yes, sir.
I'll take any of you guys' questions. I have a class 3.
State your name for us, please.
Bruce Lovelace. I'm a local business owner.
What's your
I'm
name
sure
again,
a lot-
sir? I'm sorry.
Bruce Lovelace.
Bruce, okay.
I have a class 3, which is the highest FFL license you can get without having explosives and all that stuff. You know, I'm glad to see one actually come to Rising Sun. I'm just over the hill in Rising Sun, and I didn't have to go through any rigmarole to get it because of, I'm in county district. But their standards are just crazy. The state police come in every 2 weeks, and you better have your T's crossed and your I's dotted, or they'll flag you like that. They'll load the guns up, and you can get them back someday.
You have a firearm business or a private
Yeah,
license?
it's a private license. I have a business front, but it's just, you know, for people I know, there's extensive background. For like now, they're trying to get their FFL license, which would be, they won't be able to sell any assault weapons at all. And actually Maryland is, I mean, you can't have anything over a 10-round clip, anything. I mean, they're to the T, all the way across the board. So a lot of, you know, they really set the standards on safety, on the AK type weapons, the ARs, all that type of stuff. There's only a select few that can actually be bought in Maryland from a gun shop because of how, in handguns, there's only a handful. They got a packet about this thick of handguns that aren't even allowed to be, you know, even sold in the state of Maryland. So the state police does a phenomenal job with and all the cartridges have to be shot in a lab before the gun can be sold. Actually, you know, before anybody can sell them to the public, there actually has to be a fired casing. It costs $25 to file with the Maryland State Police in their database. So there is a lot of, you know, standards that they have to go through. All the firearms have to be locked 24 hours a day. If they're being displayed for sale, they have to have gun locks on them. They can't be just, you know, a raw weapon. They cannot have clips in them, you know, as you're, you know, president, you know, trying to sell the item at all. I mean, there's a lot, and the ATF comes through every 30 days, and all your eyes better be, and they check your storage. They want to know, you know, I mean, you got a log book with everything in it that you've done, all your sales. And there's a lot of extensive paperwork, and if they come in and their storage isn't the way they want it, they'll shut you down, they'll load up the guns, and you'll get them back, you know, sometime. So, you know, if you guys had any questions, that's why I really came, because I'm sure you're not familiar. I mean, when I filed for my FFL, I was like, I didn't think it was such a, a big uprising like it is, but if you guys aren't familiar with that type of stuff, then, you know, there is a lot of standards there, you know, for them type of guns. So if you had any safety questions or
Does anybody?
anything like that,
Mr. Lovelace, any questions this time?
I mean, any safety procedures or anything, he's got that.
All right, well, we appreciate it, sir.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I just want to say on the record, I'm glad to see that, you know, the town's accepting the chance for firearms to come in. I mean, I go to Delaware to buy ammunition, I go to Bel Air to buy ammunition. There's nowhere in Cecil County, you know, that actually has a good quality, you know, selection of ammunition. And I went into Ace and was actually, you know, I said, hey, I ain't got, you know, put $30 in the car to drive to Delaware, you know, to get what you need anymore. So I just wanted to say, you know, and with the town starting to look the way it is, I'm hoping things turn around here before too long. And, yeah, I mean, I do business in the town. I am a business owner that I service, you know, throughout the community and throughout Cecil County. And I'm just glad to see the opportunities coming for somebody to be able to.
Well, we appreciate what Ace Hardware is doing, and we're not, like I said, we're not here to rake them over the coals
Yeah,
or
well,
something. because of what just
I
happened.
came because
But it's-
of the,
To us, it's not just another product.
Yeah, well, I
You know,
understand
There are
your
conditions and
concerns.
everything, so I appreciate your.
I totally understand you guys' concerns, but if there's the federal and the state,
Okay.
they really take care of the business.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak for the service road?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Augie Pearson, and most of you know me. I am not opposed to Ace Hardware selling firearms. Okay, clearly tonight, they've made it very clear that they're going to take the precautions, which was quite a few of the questions that I had that they've now answered. Okay. If memory proves me correct, in the Central District, in the selling, this is where the gray area is. If I remember correctly, I believe they would fall under the category of being able to sell, okay? Where I personally have a problem is if we have to give them a special exception. Now, if they don't qualify, if they qualify under the Central District, and we do not have to give them a special exemption, I'm fine. When we get into special exemptions, we've gotten problems in the past with that, okay? And we've always used the rule of thumb of extreme hardship. For example, the housing development, where when they laid the plats out, they didn't lay them out with sufficient area. The residents were coming to us with special exemptions just to build a deck off the back of their house that was going to impede upon the 10-foot right-of-way. If we have to go down this road, I would rather see a little bit of time given to everybody and that we develop an ordinance that would be specific in the locations, all of the requirements we want. I know this gentleman here has an FL license. I know at least two other people. One of the local businesses has expressed an interest in being able to sell firearms also. And that's why, in taking it to the next step, where we would incorporate it and give the guidelines through ordinance, I think if you have to go down that road, I believe the ordinance is the way to go rather than special exemptions, okay? Special exceptions. They've been very hard on us in the past. Once that property has that special exception, it's there. And hopefully your business will grow and you say, I have to move. But unfortunately, we learned one lesson this past several years with our famous smoke shop. When we realized we had a business that we had no control over, okay? And even though this is a perfect fit for them, okay? Cameron's in Oxford has expanded into the firearm sales, and it's a natural, okay? But if they were to move out of that building and a smoke shop moved in, they would still have that special exception to their availability. Now, that's where my concern comes. And I would like to thank Ace Hardware for your wanting to solidify your relationship with the town and to improve your business and expand it. I wish you well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, all.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, may I address something that Mr. Pearson brought up just for a minute? just want to clarify that when you're talking about someone having to build a deck that comes within 10 feet of the property line, neighbor next door, that's actually a variance, not a zoning exception.
I believe if you go back, Commissioner Norton, and look, they were having to grant more than variances on a couple of them because of the distance from the house to the property line. But
Well, but it's still a request for a variance, not a special exception.
right, but
Right, then just
I
saying-
believe they went from variance to special exception.
Well,
On,
one has to do with property line, one to do with accepted uses. So,
But, you
yeah.
know, we, in the past 5 years, you know, we have seen exactly what you're talking about. Attending the Maryland, Maryland Planning Commissioner Associations, they've done training strictly on that because we're not the only ones seeing developers trying to
Right.
put 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag.
Right.
And then the homeowners are wind up needing to come and ask for these special exceptions and variances. So we're not the only ones seeing that, unfortunately. You know, we've had to deal with it quite a bit, and I follow what you're saying. So, in the essence of time, is there anyone else who would like to speak for this? Yes, sir. State your name and if you're a town resident.
Yeah, my name is Jason Seddon. I live at 5 East Main Street, right next door. I'll just be real quick. I'm just here in support of Ace Sun Firearms and Rising Sun. So it's nothing really special or anything hadn't been touched on to go. But that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone who'd like to speak against this?
I want to speak for it as well.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Is that okay?
Go ahead.
All right.
Tim.
My name is Ben Sammons. I live in Rising Sun, but not in town. I'm just here to support Ace Hardware as well. It's just another struggling business in town that's trying to diversify and try to make a profit so they can stick around as well. Otherwise, you know, wind up like Bud and shutting their doors and moving somewhere else as well. They already shut one store, and they're just trying to diversify to make a living and employ their personnel and keep things thriving in Rising Sun. And it's unfortunate that, you know, some things occur with some people that mishandle weapons. And I have a 6-year-old boy at home, and, you know, it's pretty hard, you know, when that stuff happens. But, you know, our freedoms and our constitutional rights should be, you know, upheld. And the county and state, I mean, state's very difficult to purchase a gun. I have many guns that I purchased in Pennsylvania. I went to purchase some here in Maryland, and boy, it's pretty tough just to buy a gun. I can't imagine the holes going to make them climb through just to be able to purchase them, you know. So, you know, a lot of the concerns you guys have, I'm certain it's going to be addressed by the feds and the state in those matters because of how stringent they are in Maryland. So, you know, I hope people think rationally about it and understand that the guns, if they're used properly, which I go down to Northeast and shoot a lot, you know, if they're used properly, they're actually pretty safe. It's when somebody misuses them, just like a car, a knife, or any other weapon that could be used, is misused, it's going to kill a person. So I hope people keep that in mind and keep a rational viewpoint on this and not so much emotional, because it's easy to get caught up in the emotional aspect of this.
Thank you, Vince. Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner,
Jennifer Scully.
One second, please, Jeff. I'm sorry to interrupt you for the second time.
just are you speaking against?
I am not opposed to it, but I am asking for a little bit more
Okay,
consideration.
I just have a letter of support, that I was just keeping you in the flow.
Okay, well, we've interrupted her request, so let's let.
All right.
so-
Jennifer Scully, I live on Pearl Street, I'm 4 houses down from the middle school. I am not entirely opposed to it. What I think I am disappointed in and coming is the vagueness in the plan. I would expect, and I've heard you say that you would expect it a business plan, and I think with any business owner, in a consideration of any product, and you've already talked about one of the things I was initially concerned about glazing over a retail product and firearms being considered any retail product, which, you know, I think we've already addressed that it's not. But any business owner would go into the economics of it. There is a demand for it, and they want to create a supply for it. What is that demand. They should know that already. What is the, if predominantly a hunting demand, is it predominantly a handguns demand, is it Ace as a franchise, and what they offer, and I would expect any business owner to have put together a model to say, this is the market that we're going after because there's economics in that, and I support that. I mean, I support them as a business, and I support them being successful, but I expect a well thought out plan, and I think what's missing in this is a very compelling argument from the business owner, and I emphasize the word compelling. Mr. Riddle made some vague comments in reference to either the ordinance or the law. 1,000 feet, we'd be in the county and we wouldn't have to deal with this. I appreciate the compassion for Rising Sons of Town and coming and presenting this, but I think what's missing is a compelling argument of a business plan and what the economics of their model would be. Even some vagueness in what level of firearm licensing they're going after, and Bruce getting up here actually provided more knowledge to me than what the business owners themselves did, so that concerns me. I will tell you this, because like I said, I'm not opposed to it, but in your decision-making, I have a 15-year-old daughter who went to the middle school, was in the high school. I asked her before I came up here how she felt about it, considering, what went on this weekend, and she said, her honest comment was murders people are murders people, and they're gonna find a way to do things like that, and it did not concern her at all, 0%, didn't concern her. I have a 21-year-old daughter who graduated from high school and said, it does concern her, so I have two kids that have two different views. It was interesting to get their views, and I was happy that they had an opinion about it. Didn't really come into this meeting with a particular opinion one way or another. I do support the business and I'm not opposed to it. I think it's just lacking a well thought out business plan that would have anticipated the questions that you would have asked. I'm concerned about the fact that there was a lack of anticipation of the questions that you would have asked and having concise answers for that and a compelling argument for it. The economics of what products they're going to be presenting, considering the argument that their platform they're going on, I wouldn't say argument, the platform they're going on is that it is a retail product. So therefore, they would know the economics of the demand that's out there. So not against it, I just think that there needs to be more information provided to you from the retailer before you make your decision.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
Just one last thing, real quick. Now, in Maryland, if you go to buy a handgun, AK-47, any of those type of assault weapons, there's a 7 business day waiting period. So if you walk in, say, to Ace tomorrow to try to buy a gun, and you picked it out, you would have to wait 7 Maryland State Police working days to be able to actually take that weapon home with you. Just to clarify that.
That's one of the things that's, that's jumped out at us right away, that you just don't walk in like you do. And like I said, that's why I don't consider this another retail product. There are a lot of special conditions that have to be met, and in order to purchase this responsibly. Our other concern is the irresponsible who may try to dig a hole in the roof in the middle of the night and come in and clean the place out, and not for rakes and hoes and shovels. So that's one of our big concerns. Is there anybody else that'd like to speak from the audience concerning this matter tonight? Yes, sir.
My name is Tracy Duval. I live down on Pearl Street, and I'm in support of allowing them to sell firearms there. A lot of the questions have been posed tonight concerning the safety and all that sort of thing. The town really doesn't have to worry about that at all, because the federal firearms, the state of Maryland, as they've already stated, they do all those checks on a regular basis. And if they don't comply, they take everything. And addressing the idea of what merchandise is going to be sold and that sort of thing, that's not really a fair question, because he's not going to order 10,000 drills down there if he only sells one a year. So it's going to be pretty much what the public demands. And as Bruce has already stated, he's not gonna be able to sell AKs or ARs or anything like that, so I don't think that's a concern. As far as the safety aspect of it is, I'm a certified hunter safety education teacher here in the state of Maryland. The town board has granted us permission to teach classes at the American Legion here in Rising Sun. And we hold 3 classes a year. Those classes max out. We had to set our limit at 80 people. We had open classes for a while, and we were having 100+ people take these classes. It's just not possible to teach that many students on a given time. So we had to reduce it to 80 people. And every year, 3 times a year, our classes are filled up. When they take that class, part of that segment of that class introduces handguns, as well as the long guns. We cover archery, trapping, just everything that would be concerned. And when you take that hunter safety class, that also gives you the privilege of buying regulated firearms such as pistols. With the state of Maryland and the entire United States, an instant background check is done when you fill out a Form 4473 in order to purchase a long gun. And of course, if that comes back negative, he is not required to sell them that gun. In fact, the law states that if he has any question or concern about the person coming in filling out the application, he has the right, or his employees have the right to reject that individual basically based on their looks. As a firearms dealer, he has that privilege to do that. And unfortunately, we do have people who do stupid things like they did last week. It doesn't matter how much safety training you have, there's those kind of people out there. And my heart too goes out to those folks, but I think it would be a good addition to the town of Rising Sun. I've lived here all my life. Since Bud closed up, I used to buy all my ammunition there. Since Bud closed up, I don't really like to buy it at Walmart, because then I have to go somewhere else. If I need something, I can walk down the street and get it. It keeps business in town. You all know we need that business in town. So your consideration is hopefully in favor and allowing them to do that. So thank you for allowing me to speak.
Before you leave tonight, I appreciate getting your name and number from you, because I've seen you at the past meetings in the past, and as this thing moves forward, you should be connected to Ace Hardware in that, because they should reach out to you to help you expand, because I feel more education is given on responsibility and the use of this product. Those are the things that we can do to help minimize these things. This has been all over the news this past year, and we don't want it to be here. We don't want it to be anywhere. Not just here in Rising Sun. I don't want to hear about it anywhere again. And having to chair a meeting tonight over a sensitive issue like this has been very stressful.
I'm sure.
For me and for this members of this board concerning this, especially with the events that just happened. So, just as both you gentlemen mentioned, there's a lot of conditions that the state and federal agencies put on this. And as we're moving forward with this, this is week before Christmas. I don't feel that we can draw this thing all out in 1 hour and a half meeting tonight. There's been good response from the audience tonight. Like I said, this is the biggest audience we've ever had here tonight, and we hope this is the beginning, because not only what happens during the 2 monthly commissioners and mayors meeting is important, but what goes on here each month is important too. We haven't had to deal with a product and a zoning permit like this. We thought the biggest thing that was going to be hitting us as we've gone through has been water and sewer and more building of residential communities around here. And that's still going to happen. It's not like we're a business district where somebody will come from outside of town to buy product, but we do want to support the businesses that are in town and hope that Ace doesn't grow so big that they got to move out of town, that we can retain them here, because if my car is broke, I can walk to Ace. I used to be able to walk to Bud's or Kunkel's, so having that means within town is good. We do have hunters in this area. You don't have to go far to hunt. I knew someone saw you with your camo there, that you were
Sorry, I just
involved
came
in
out
that.
of the field, so.
It's okay, because it's that time of year, and it's, you know, it's the reality of the positive side of this product that we're talking about tonight.
And I think through proper education, and we always tell all of our students, we have a lot of adults that take our classes as well, with their children, with their grandchildren. We always stress to them that we only have them, state mandates that our classes are a minimum of 10 hours. They usually go much longer than that. But we always stress to them that we can only do so much in class, and then it becomes the responsibility of the parent or guardian to really institute in the field what we've tried to teach them in the classroom. And it is a very sensitive subject all over America today, and it's sad that, and we all know this, drugs are illegal. Rising Sun has a problem with drugs. They still get them. If we outlaw the guns, they're still gonna get the guns illegally. So that's not gonna solve the problem. But what is gonna solve the problem is people in the small towns who will stand together and say, this is what's right and this is what we're going to do, and try to eliminate those problems. So again, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else who'd like to speak from the audience before we move toward wrapping this up? Yes, sir.
We have an opportunity to make closing comments.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, we have.
I probably should read this in the record.
I'd like to read this into the record if I may, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
yes, sir. We have another letter.
This is the letter that Mr. Bonenberger referenced from Sun Pharmacy here in town. December 13th, 2012, to Rising Planning Commission regarding the PZA case 2012-03, Ace Hardware's application to sell firearms. I am writing you to tell you that I would have no objection to Ace Hardware selling firearms. I believe Ace Hardware would be diligent about safe storage of firearms in the store and would be fully compliant with all state and federal laws regulating the sale of firearms. Allowing this expansion of business would, in my opinion, attract more consumer traffic to downtown Rising Sun, and that would be a good thing. I enclose a postcard picture of the old Haynes & Kirk hardware store, predecessor to Bell McFadden's Home and Auto or Western Auto store. You'll note on the sign to the right that Haynes & Kirk offered, quote, hardware, cutlery, guns, pistols, stoves, paints, etc. If you need historical precedent for this kind of business being in Rising Sun, Haynes & Kirk is it. Thank you for alerting me to this issue and giving me the opportunity to comment. Tom Connolly, owner of Sun Pharmacy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Are you guys currently selling ammunition?
Yes, sir.
Could we request that you do get a new sign besides the plywood with the pallet?
You certainly can.
You have a beautiful store there, yes, some beautiful signs already.
I agree.
And,
We will.
you know, if there's no special permission or anything that was needed to sell any kind of ammunition you currently are, you know, I think that your business is very professional and you've come up with a much better sign than that. And-
I agree with you.
Isn't there a sign ordinance or something?
That class of ammunition is not.
Okay. So that's, we agree with that.
You know, I thought I would tell you that I had no idea, and for the most part, I didn't know most of the people that came and spoke for us this evening. So I want to go on the record and say, hey, I did not stack the deck. I had no idea these fine people would stand up. And I sympathize with the lady here and understand that it would be nicer if I could have said, hey, I want to have 5 of these and 7 of those. The last thing I want to come here is tell you something that I really don't know, and I don't have that down yet. And a business plan is really more of a financial analysis. And since we're going small and not large, I didn't go to the expense of having a professional come in and prepare that one. But we have been in business since 1977. So we've stumbled along, and the key that we found is if you treat people fairly and give them a value, and don't take advantage of anyone, you'll build a reputation. I think we have a record to stand on here in the county, or in the town. We've been here I believe over 10 years now. Fortunately, I don't have that date, but I have a picture of the town commissioners all standing out in front when we broke the shovel and started working there. We have met with the ATF, they have inspected our building, they do field, we've gone over. Matter of fact, that was one of the exact items brought in, was someone cutting through the roof and trying to come down. So he did caution us and give us ideas, and once again, something I wouldn't want to share in a public forum, but suggestions on how to further increase security. In fact, a best practices list, so to speak. And we will be, I gave him my word, and I'll give you my word, we will be adopting those informal best practices that the ATF can recommend. Commissioner Smith, I'm not sure the class of license that we applied for, so I want to apologize to you
It's
for
okay.
that. And we came here with open arms to greet the town. We don't want to fight the town, we want to work with the town. It costs us $1,500 to do this, that's just an application fee. And legal representation said, I don't think that's needed. I said, well, listen, that's not the point. If this is what the town fathers want, we want to cooperate with them. We're not here to bump heads, we're here to do business together and just survive. And it is very difficult. I don't know if you know this, but we're closing our Route 40 store. That's been open over 20 years. We opened in 1991. But we didn't have the products to make that a destination store. It's not something that you walk out of your house and say, hey, I'm gonna slip by East Hardware out on Route 40 in a minute. You have to go there.
Is that the one just before you get to Elkton on the right going
Yes.
up?
So we're sad to say after, well, this would be the 21st year, we'll be closing December 31st. And we are looking for niches to help subsidize the income that's lost, the business that's lost due to the slowdown in the economy and in home building. I mean, that's the biggest thing, you know, home building drives the hardware and well, we had a lumber yard up in the north end of town, I guess you would call that, called Critters. The business just isn't there, and it's sad to say. So this is also going to help us continue to survive here. We've had multiple requests for it. It wasn't something that just fell out of the eye. We came up with the idea because the customers came to us requesting that we start selling ammunition. So everyone that spoke for me, I want to thank you very much and the Porter Company. And I want to open, I'll be happy to share my phone number with you if you ever have any concerns. You're welcome to call us. Michael Saunders is the manager of storage, my nephew, and he is also a part owner. We're here for you. We're not going to run away from it. So if you have any concerns, do come to us, and we'll do our best to help. I don't know what else I can say. Well, thank you to the gentleman from the Commerce, the business Chamber of Commerce for speaking also.
Well, I appreciate all the information, as patient you've been with us. Since this is still in its beginning stages, I'd like to recommend at this time that we extend this as we get more information. I think our consensus is we'd like to see, it doesn't have to be, as you say, a business plan, but we'd like to see more of a plan of, other than just the drawing that we have, just showing the floor plan. And the thing that concerned me was counter possible locked firearms display, because we would want to see something that said locked.
Well, I think what it is possible areas, what it's supposed to say.
So what
And that's going to be,
we'll just say, what we'd like to see, because I don't think that we're at the point to where this is critical tonight.
well, there is one business I'll make you aware of. One of the reasons we chose not to postpone this meeting is that the buyer's markets take place early in January. And to be able to buy competitively for the year, that's something
Well, one of the things that you've told us is you're not sure what you wanted to buy.
We're gonna
What
take
the market,
consultants.
what the market was looking for. So we would like to know, okay, you've kind of done a study, this is what you see the area is looking for. We're concerned with what type you're gonna start out with, what you've done as far as the hiring of an employee or training of existing employees, where the display is going to be, what type of security measures have been put in place. One of the things I'm saying here is I think that we're probably in somewhat of agreement that there are several conditions that we need to be sure are happening and put in place. Not only, not to sound like we're just trying to bully you or someone, but we're trying to work with you and the business community. We want to see you do well. And you're one of the few, I won't say the few, but you're one of the things we can be proud of in our town is East Hardwood. So we would like to see.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes.
Just a minute. I just want to say that I appreciate the information you gave tonight. And I actually am thinking that, this sounds better than what we saw in the initial application. Maybe you can roll some of what we heard tonight into an expanded business plan or plan how you're going to do this. If you could, you articulated some of the things that I have concerns about. I wish I'd had that ahead of time. So maybe you can come back to us with some of that.
Our concern is though, is it what exactly you're looking for? Because what you're looking for is almost, we're just,
Well, I'll tell you
we're
what.
turning circles because we're.
One example of what I'm talking about
regulations.
is that you talked, for example, about the fact that the employees would have training, but you didn't address the issue of background checks until it came up from someone else.
But that's required by state and federal. I mean, I guess I didn't sit here and educate everyone on what the state and federal requirements are, but those are gonna be required. I mean, in regards to anybody providing Ace Hardware with a gun, they're gonna have to meet the guidelines of state and federal regulations.
I
The
understand what you're
background
saying.
checks, going through the training in order for us to get there. So I guess our concern here is that where we're going on the wheel here is that without having a letter from the town, we can't then take the steps, say, okay, now we can get all these things.
I guess what I'm saying is, I understand that you're saying this is all based on regulations. I would rather have heard some of this come from Ace Hardware proactively ahead of time up front, and I'm willing to certainly consider it, but when it's all spelled out more clearly, that's just.
I can give you these if you'd like. This has all the it doesn't have all the regulations.
Bill, go ahead.
Mr. Commissioner, Board, I think this whole board knows how extremely detail-oriented I am when it comes to drawings and things.
Yes.
The application that was provided to us unfortunately lacked things that I would consider detailed. The first thing would be what type of FFL. The second thing would be a specification sheet on what type of display case, what type of locking case, what type of security measures. This board realizes that there are extreme limitations as far as the ATF, the state of Maryland, what you can and what you cannot sell. Perfectly get that. But the application was lacking in these details enough for us to make us a really informed decision until we started getting into open format meeting. Certainly have no problem with it, but I would have liked to have seen, here's where we're gonna put it, this is the type of showcase we're gonna use, this is the type of license we're gonna apply for. We're going to have adults that are certified over 21, it'll be this, and this, and the application was just very vague, to be honest with you. And no disrespect to anybody. It was too vague, and maybe this board should take this up as something in the future, that if something like this comes up for us for an ordinance or something like that, that we require that the application be fully detailed, what they enclose, what type, I mean, you know how it is, like, I gotta see how it's put in the ground, I gotta see what kind of electrical's going to it, I gotta see detail. How far it is, what type of wall it's going on, things like that, but that's just me. The application is somewhat missing information from it. And no disrespect to
I
anybody
like your
here,
point.
I certainly have no problem. Ace is like a savior, especially on a Saturday afternoon at 5 o'clock when I need a box of screws. Where's the first place I'm going? But that's something I think this board needs to consider for the ordinances and things for the future, that we need to be more specific in our guidelines, so when an application does come before us, that it meets all of these guidelines, specifically on something like this, where it's a type 1 application and I have this case and I have this. We need to ratchet that down a lot further so we don't have to go through this.
I mean, to Bill's point, the application for special exception doesn't even have a reason for the application. I mean, it's just the name of the store and the acreage and its own commercial and signature. It's actually missing the reason for requested change is blank. So I think
Well-
that's to highlight the concern of lack of information. I mean, we knew what it was for, but nonetheless.
We met with your administrator. Did you go over it with Calvin ahead of time?
Yes.
If there was something lacking, I'm not finding any fault with Calvin, but please, we didn't expect to have to go before this. It was before I had an attorney involved. I made my arrangements to be here on the 10th. I had to cancel all those arrangements because you were concerned about the attorney not being able to come. I changed all that. I spent $1,500 that I really didn't feel like was necessary. And with all due respect, and I hope I don't burn any bridges here, with all due respect, I think you're getting into the ATF, and it's not a town council. I can give you an example of the letter that the county gave us.
And
I can
that's
gather
the kind of
letters from
things
other
we're
towns.
looking for, is letters that you've gotten, inspections you've gotten, stuff showing us that we can comfortably know that you're going down the path. One of the first questions I asked you was the date of your application, because, yeah, you've put out some money, and, it's a substantial amount of money, and we are not out to waste any business owner's money in this town. And if there, was if because anything we may have done made it go past the limit, it would not have been fair to say, okay, you've missed your deadline, you gotta reapply. That's the other things, there's some things on here, that we're lacking, but we just would like some more information so that we can see that, yeah, you've checked into all this stuff, you've looked into your class, your licenses, your training, your employees, where you're gonna put it, your security. We think that, like I said, I think as we've gone over this tonight, the thing that jumped out at me is it's not just another product. It's a product that's gonna require, not just from us, from the state and federal law, a lot of hoops for you to have to jump through. And as we represent the town's residents, and I'm really surprised that we didn't have more of an audience turnout, against this. It goes to speak as to what's going on out in the public.
We're a hunting community.
Because, yeah, we're a hunting community, and we're not looking to make this any worse on you than the state and federal is. We're just looking for information that's gonna say, okay, we know that ACE has gone down step 1, step 2, steps 3. This is, and then when everybody starts asking us, what are they doing? What kind of lot? It's all been submitted. We, as far as deadlines for purchasing and stuff, we have no control over that. The thing that concerns me, like you said, you didn't know what you were gonna stock to start with, but you're already planning for a deadline.
Well, we know we're gonna stop with Ranger Shop.
So that's the kind of thing we're
And we
looking
wanna
to
pass
have.
savings on to the community, and that's the best thing. If you want to familiarize yourself with the guideline and what the requirements are, but for you to ask me what kind of shelving I'm gonna put in, that's way outside of your
We're
attorney's
just,
here.
like I said, we're
and-
asking for you to help us to help you by making us aware of what steps you've taken. And Jay, if I've stepped outside the legal bounds of this, please let us know here.
Well, I mean, I can give you my perspective of hearing this, and this is my perspective. I mean, it's not advice, but your attorney's arguments are exactly right as far as, is it a permitted use? That's the first question that should be asked, is it permitted use with conditions? And this board has to make some type of recommendation, and you need to give them the information they feel necessary to sell that. And I think you've done a great job. I'm not being critical of anything. But for them to say, at least to my knowledge, I don't know about the FFLs, I don't know about the pistol licenses, I don't know how many people know the details. I got more information from a gentleman who just came and showed up to help than we did from your case. I'm looking at the situation as give the town the information it needs to turn around to its residents and explain, we approved this because it has all these types of conditions, not just saying the feds take care of it. These are the conditions that are going on. It meets all the distance requirements. We think that he made a case for how they do the safety of the things, the employees, so that there's a justification in the records for them saying is that we don't need to add any more conditions. Because that, I think, is what's gonna come down to it. If the argument we even accept is it's a permissible use with conditions, what would the conditions be? You don't really want any more. You got tons of them because of the state and federal ones. Highlight what they are. They don't need to go through the books to apply themselves, but I would think there should be some bullet points that you could give to them to make them feel comfortable in the fact that the bases are covered. That's my thought. And then I would think that the special exception issue goes away, because I'm not sure that, I mean, I walked this through just like your attorney. I'm not sure that's where this goes anyway. I'm more concerned with the conditions that would be applied to a permitted use. And it seems like there doesn't need to be any more, but they have to be comfortable with that. That's my take on that.
If I can summarize what you're asking is, okay, what type of license is it? It does not say on the application what class it is. So I'm not going nuts. I'll be happy to bring it over to you, and you can look at it. Nowhere on there
Well, I
doesn't
mean,
say
I
what
understand that,
class.
and I don't know the details, and I might be wrong, but an FFL Class 1 is different than a Class 3. A Class 3 is automatic weapons. That makes a difference, I would think, to them, whether you're gonna be selling automatic weapons or not.
Well, unfortunately,
But you
we
don't,
don't call them a class on the application. And we're gonna apply for whatever is legally acceptable in the state of Maryland and to the state of Maryland. With the exceptions of, we did not apply for explosives. So, other than that, we wanna do the police and the military, which is the same thing. And we wanna be able to sell everything else that's legally allowed in Maryland. We don't want to restrict ourselves to what we may get into. To answer your question about the smoke shop, well, the owners and the people dealing with it all have to have a sparkling clean record. Somebody tells you they have an ATF license, you know that their record is 100% spotless, or you don't get it. So yes, maybe the land, to answer Augie's question, maybe that land will be, but I can assure you, the feds aren't gonna let some criminal come in here.
Well, I understand that, Charlie,
So,
it's just, it gets into the land usage
Yeah.
that you have to be careful with. And that's what their concern is, land usage.
Special exception only lasts as long as you're in the property. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
Special
Right.
exception only applies to the,
to the use that's there.
right.
In the end.
Yeah, right,
Yep.
so,
Yeah, that's-
And
Audie, if they were applying for a variance, that would be a different story. But because they're applying for a special exception, the variance is pertaining to the land, the structure, property lines, things like that. Special exception is the use of that property,
I
daycares,
understand.
so.
And if the board, you know, if you want, so I think if I could answer your questions one-on-one, you want lock shelving. Well, we're going to do that, whether we had to or not. A gentleman who has an FFL stated they have to.
See, that's what
Security.
we're asking from you, and if we need to make a motion to detail those bullet points we're looking for.
I think we're on record right now, detailing. We're on the record.
A letter in writing as to what you're looking to sell, how your training, all the things, like I said, we've discussed here verbally. I think this board is looking for that as part of the application. And like I said, since there's no date, and you've invested money, we're not out to take your money. We can